Good evening, everyone. So the evening Ask the Naturopath. My name is Sharon Whiteman, and we deeply wish and hope you're all as well as possible. On behalf of the LDAA and all patients, please let me express our deepest gratitude to our new board member, Dobrusia. So much of Lyme treatment can be self-driven, and especially in Australia, sometimes it has to be. And having a knowledgeable coach for patients has been a long-held dream of the LDAA. And before I just give you a little bit about Dobrusia's background, just let's set a few ground rules. So we are intending this to be a monthly opportunity, alternating between evening and daytime slots. They'll be recorded for the benefit of all. And like I said, if you'd like to rename names, just keep your camera off and click on participants to change your name. Questions will be accepted via the chat function, which if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see that. We acknowledge that we may not complete all questions in each session. Some may be held over for the next session, and some we might not be able to answer, but we'll just be clear about that. And, obviously we have a lot of care for Dobrusia wanting to maybe do some more in-depth research if it's something that she hasn't come across. Do appreciate if everybody mutes their microphone. I'll just... so we can have the best possible sound quality. That's perfect. Thank you. So we acknowledge you for being here. We've wanted this for a long time, and we're grateful that's now a fruition for us. And a little bit of Dobrusia's background. She's a qualified naturopath and lymph and organ drainage practitioner, passionate about helping people with chronic and complex issues. She began her professional career as a chemical engineer, and after 12 years working with chemicals, her health collapsed from a toxic overload. This collapse brought up her previously dormant Lyme disease she contracted in Poland as a child. In addition to this, she developed sensitivity to mold, chemicals, and MCAS. Due to lack of awareness and understanding amongst medical practitioners in Australia, she spent over 10 years searching for answers and effective ways to heal. She deeply understands the suffering, the frustration, and helplessness associated with this process, particularly in Australia. We're so grateful that she would now like to offer support to those who suffer from Lyme and other complex conditions by empowering them with knowledge and hope. Conducting these monthly sessions, and I'll just caution that everybody needs to check the communications on Facebook or email, because sometimes it's the third Monday of the month, and sometimes that might have to change based on schedule. So the other thing to let you know, a slight disclaimer, is that health education during these sessions is provided for information and educational purposes only. It does not necessarily represent endorsement by the Lyme Disease Association of Australia or its board, and we recommend you consult with your primary medical practitioner to inform your health choices. So, Dobrusia, I will make you co-host so you can share your screen, and I'll go off camera and I'll listen and learn along with everybody else. But I'll be here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks so much, Sharon, for this introduction. So welcome everyone. Welcome everyone who is new and who has been sticking with me since the beginning. This is our third session. I hope you had a lovely Christmas and New Year without major setbacks. Now, I just want to share a screen and it's not coming up. So, bear with me. This maybe happens when you have 10 million things open.
I know that well.
Okay. So, why is it not coming up? Oh, yeah, there we are. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Can everyone see my Art of Detoxification screen?
Yep, good for me. Yeah.
Great. So, so the purpose of this session is obviously to coach you and help you to through this very tricky, frustrating, overwhelming process of healing Lyme disease, but also make you aware of the importance of whole body approach to healing Lyme disease because it's a systemic condition. It affects every system. It causes lots of damage and havoc in the body. There is a need to do a whole body healing. And in first session, I talked about those important components, and it was which are detoxification, nutrition, immune system, inflammation, and emotional components of healing, as well as dealing with the infection itself. And in second session, we started talking about detoxification, and I've divided my detoxification into 4 phases, not to be confused with liver phase detoxification, but it's more like a step. Step 1 or phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. They don't have to be done correctly, like strictly into one order, but it's best to follow certain order, because jumping into detoxification too quickly and too abruptly will cause a flare-up, intensification of the symptoms. And again, I use this analogy of bucket. It's a really good analogy that it's good to remember of when things go. I was gonna say things go to shit, and that's what happens. Well, I mean, symptoms get worse. It's mainly because our body is not able to process anything anymore. Like the toxic bucket, it's full. So for example, if there is a die-off reaction or Herxheimer reaction, or if there is a flare-up reaction because of new supplement or different food, body is basically so full of toxins that any additional thing, it's causing more symptoms, overflow of the symptoms, which is difficult to control and difficult to handle. That's why the first step of dealing with, or important step, early step of dealing with Lyme disease, it's emptying this bucket so we can handle the treatment without major symptoms. So just quickly, a reminder of what we talked about in session 2 last month. The step 1 was a reduction of exposure, so a reduction of environmental exposure and toxins in food and emotional toxins. And this session is recorded and available for view for those who would like to remind themselves, or for those who haven't watched yet. And today we'll go into next step, phase 2, where the main topic will be enhancing elimination and drainage of main detoxification organs. We have few very important detoxification organs. It's not just liver, and actually liver it's purposely not here today, because people go to detoxification of liver too quickly and cause, from my clinical experience, cause lots of flare-up symptoms. That's why I start from enhancing functionality of other organs first before going into liver. So we'll talk about colon, lymph, skin, kidney, and lungs. So starting from colon, how do we know colon is actually unhealthy? And as naturopaths, we love talking about poo. It's just not because it's something fascinating, but it's just such a great picture of digestive health. So good poo tells us a lot. Like, how the stool looks. We can stool delivers lots of information. So good stool, it's regular, twice a day, once or twice a day. It's fully formed, fully evacuated, easy to pass, no mucus, no offensive smells, no undigested foods. So any variations from this, it tells us that something is not really correct. And it's not just about colon, it's about the entire digestive system. So the issue could be upstream, the issue could be in the stomach, in the small intestine, but I won't be going into details of this today. We'll talk about digestive system in depth in another session. But just to let you know that if your stool is different from this is perfect appearance, if your stool looks different than this, then there might be something to address. Excessive fluctuants, so excessive offensive gases, especially if there is like a rotten egg smell. That's also an indication of unhealthy colon flora. Could be small intestine, could be also large intestine, or itch around anus. It could be during a night, or it could be during full moon. It's often connected to parasites or fungal overgrowth. So the main thing about detoxification and colon health is to make sure that stools are coming out. Basically, what we don't want is retention of the waste product in the body, because that will be adding greatly to toxicity. So if the stools are not regular, they're not formed and fully evacuated and not once a day, then you could look at things to speed them up, enhance that motility, stool movement. Some suggestions in here, and then again, depends what's happening. But some possible suggestion will be adding soluble fibers like your chia seeds or pectins or flax seeds or rice bran. It's a bulk laxative that basically fills your colon and helps to push everything out. Sometimes bile might be not flowing, and bile, it's natural antimicrobial and natural laxative as well. So we can promote that bile flow through herbs called cholagogues, and dandelion, it's one of the very readily available herb. Licorice, it's not a cholagogue, it's gentle laxative, but any bitter foods, they will promote as a bile enhancer and also promote general gut motility, so helps to eliminate things. Gentian is a bitter herb that promotes also bowel movement. If the bowel is moving too quickly, so basically there is more than 2 or 3 movements a day, or there is watery diarrhea or loose bowel movements, you could try things like binders. So charcoal is the cheapest and most effective binders, ½ teaspoon twice a day, 30 minutes before meals. That's to stop excessive bowel movement. But generally for detoxification, it's much better to have more bowel movement or then retention of the toxic waste. Then exercise for peristalsis, we talked about fiber. Exercise, it's absolutely critical. Often when there is an inflammation in the body, everything is just sticky and congested and inflamed, and organs having trouble moving and working properly. So physical movement that promotes, that loosens up this congestion, it's just extremely important. And I will go back to exercise in the next slide. Hydration, obviously, it's super important for our colon health. So hydrating with 1 to 2 liters of water. Again, I will talk about water a bit later on. Actually, absolutely crucial thing for colon health, it's eliminating foods that making us feel obviously unwell. So when I mean obviously unwell, often I see people eat food and straight away they feel tired, bloated, and they know this food is affecting them. And then the next day stool is sticky or diarrhea or it's not moving at all, but they keep eating this food. And it just keeps happening. So I'm sometimes losing patience for the situations, but yeah, I understand we all are humans and we have our temptations and weaknesses. But if something is really, you know, that something is really affecting you, obviously affecting you, just trying to eliminate that food or replacing it with something else. We just have so many choices, different dietary choices. For foods, just at this time, as you're healing your gut, as you're healing your body, it's best to do everything possible to maintain body in a good shape. And then also another important part is feeding your colon with, colon has lots of different species of bacteria. So those bacteria need some good food. The good food for bacteria is called prebiotic. So that's inulin, all the fibrous foods, and also probiotics. So multi-strain probiotic, it could be also really helpful for maintaining colon health. So that's about colon. Now lymphatic system. I work with lymphatic system a lot, and I'm a trained lymphatic practitioner. And it's really interesting to see how I offer my services for people affected with Lyme's and for with Lyme disease and people who are not. And it's very interesting to see in the clinic how much flare-up there is after lymphatic drainage. So that basically tells me that lymphatic system stores enormous amount of waste and the byproducts. And when I do a full session on a person who never had major issues with health, they feel robust, they feel fine, they feel energized, they have great dreams. But with people who have chronic health conditions, like fibromyalgia or heavy metal toxicity or Lyme, any inflammatory toxicity, sometimes the flare-up could really last for days. And I'm not saying this to scare you off from lymphatic system work or drainage. It's just an indication that work is really needed for this system. And clogged lymphatic system basically carries hormones, immune cells, and antigens, some fat-soluble nutrients. So its role, and takes away waste products. So its role is it has a huge role, and it's often really overlooked. Some signs of lymphatic system congestion, it's puffiness, edema, congestion, especially in the area where there is lots of lymph node agglomerations. And I just would like to share another screen with you. If I find it. Oh, maybe I won't mess around because the screen won't come back. But what I was going to show you, that in certain areas, especially in the armpits and around the groin area and on our necks, those are areas of where there is lots of lymph nodes, and this area could be puffy or achy, or we could feel if someone has ongoing infection, that the lymph nodes are larger. So how can you yourself at home look after lymphatic system? Movement is critical because lymphatic system doesn't have a pump like cardiovascular system. So any movement, it's great. With people with chronic condition, it is so important to not to move over your tolerance limit. So in other words, if you decided to do exercise and the next day you feel like hit by the bus, or you feel your symptoms have exacerbated, that's mean you spend the energy that you don't have. That's mean that there is too much acid buildup. Their body it's not dealing with detoxification. The exercise basically have to be decreased to the point where you're able to next day feel okay or even a bit more energized. Mini trampoline, 5 minutes daily or less, according to your own capacity to tolerate. That's really stimulating for lymphatic system. Dry skin brushing before shower. So did I bring my brush with me? Yes, just 1 second. So here is the brush. And this brush could be purchased in Chemist Warehouse or any health food store. And if you head to my website, it's www.healthyflow.com.au. I have a detailed description of dry skin brushing, and that's really wonderful, gentle. It's really gentle, so it doesn't cause major flare-ups, maybe the first day or two, but generally really well tolerated method of stimulating the lymphatic system and cardiovascular system. Hydration, herbal teas, and electrolytes, and some herbs that are specifically working on lymphatic system. So these are nettles, calendula, cleavers, poke root, red root. They all could be used as a teas, and they are really gentle, except poke root. Maybe don't experiment with this one as a tea. It is a high dose, quite strong lymphatic, but the rest of these herbs are gentle tea supporting elimination. And because we are actually half an hour into our time, I will stop the educational session and continue the next month, and basically open the Q&A session.
Thank you, Dobrusia. So if you have a question, you can just type it into the chat. If we're pretty quiet tonight, so if it's easier if you just talk than type, because on a phone it might be tough. Just unmute yourself and say your name, and then we can call on you. Does anybody have any questions tonight?
Yeah,
Is that Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I guess when you're talking about the exercise,
Mhm.
I've sort of found myself, I was doing a lot of exercise before I had I think it's Lyme disease. And I've sort of started getting back into doing a little bit of exercise. And yeah, I have found I have a limit. So every time I sort of do, over half an hour on a bike ride, I reach my limit. And is that something you should just sort of keep progressing on a weekly basis, or like how do you sort of progress? Because I've sort of been just doing the basics for a while now, and I keep having a little setback. What's your advice around sort of improving and getting, sort of pushing yourself a little bit more without overdoing it?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Would you just mind repeating what did you say about the setback, and how do you see as your limit? What are you experiencing?
Yeah, so if I typically do triathlon stuff. So if I go for a swim, I at the moment I'm doing 400 or 500 meters, so it's not too far. But if I do a little bit extra, or if I go for a ride on my bike, I do half an hour or a little bit over. The next day, it's typically I can get through the exercise. It's the next day and the next day after that. Like my ankles will be sore, my muscles will be sore. When I wake up, like it'll be like you said, you'll feel like you're being run over by a bus. And instead of sleeping 8 hours, the day after exercise, the 2 days later, I sleep for about 10 hours, and it seems to happen every time. So yeah, I don't seem to see much improvement, even if you just try and do a little bit more.
Yeah. Look, I don't know your situation, your health situation, so I wouldn't be pushing. I don't know basically in what Lyme stage of recovery or treatment you are, but I wouldn't be. Sounds like there is an inflammation the next day, and I wouldn't be really pushing over that. If you're able to exercise for half an hour and to rotate the different types of exercise with cardio strength to make sure all your muscles are getting some workout, then that's great. What you could try doing is alkalizing your body to minimize lactic acid output. Often when there is an ongoing infection, you have anaerobic conditions. So you would prefer, so that basically promotes the lactic acid buildup in the body. And alkalizing body with even things like bicarb soda or combination of bicarb soda and some potassium. There are some practitioner products, Basica, but I'm sure there are products for general non-practitioner products that are alkalizing. But even bicarb soda, 1/4 teaspoon after exercise, and if the pain around the ankles and pain around the muscles decrease substantially, that might indicate it's a matter of lactic acid buildup. But if you continue feeling tired, then you're most likely dealing with mitochondrial or adrenal dysfunction. Now, mitochondria could be supplemented if you're already in advanced stage of recovery from Lyme disease. But if you're on early stages, it's not a point of putting a foot onto your pedal, like not accelerating yourself too much. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it does. It's just, I sort of feel like you're a bit better and you're getting better, but then you do the exercise and it's like you haven't progressed at all. But yeah, it's just a slow process.
Yeah. Look, it is slow process, and as I said, at this stage, if you're able to focus on the movement of your body and maintaining what you got, then it's best to save the energy for healing rather than building muscles. Or keeping fit is extremely important, but trying to preserve energy for healing, which body needs so much energy for that. It's more important. It's a priority at this stage.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll just, while Ryan's still there, Rebecca's got a similar point here. It says, when I exercise, it feels like I'm immediately in the anaerobic threshold. Is there a way to fake the threshold so that it's just higher? Will it happen with improved health in general?
Yeah, so it could be a very similar situation where, immediately, possibly it will be a matter of more mitochondrial, supporting mitochondrial for you, Rebecca. So possibly trying things like high doses of L-carnitine, CoQ10, what else? Alpha lipoic acid. That's the mitochondrial nutrients, or possibly circulation. But it sounds to me like mitochondrial problem with generation of energy.
Yeah, and the doctor I'm working with, he's said, look, it sounds like your mitochondria is basically, well, when I started with him 6 months ago, that was a problem. So every supplement I'm taking is to build that back up. So the ones you said, yeah, I'm taking those plus a bunch of others as well.
Yeah, and you're feeling like you're building your endurance and ability to exercise with mitochondrial support, Ryan?
Look, when if I don't exercise, I feel a lot better. But I want to be able to exercise because that's what I enjoy doing. But when I do exercise, it feels like I'm back to where I started straight away, like the next couple of days. And I'm only doing a small amount of exercise. Whereas when I got sick, I was very fit, and now I'm not, like, compared to where I was. A long way from that. But yeah, even just doing a little bit, it's like, yeah, you fall back to feeling average for a couple of days very quickly.
Yeah, I would be really careful with this approach because you do want to focus on healing. That's your priority. And when you're healed and when your body is empty from the microbes and disease, the ability to exercise and fitness will return. But at this stage, those all things are a little bit compromised. So put your energy wisely.
Okay. Thanks for the advice.
And Esther has some similar experiences and advice. So for her with exercise, she had to build up from 5 minutes and increased every 3 weeks or whenever I felt my body that the current exercise was getting too easy. And I was ready to increase by an extra 5 minutes. Now I'm at 20 minutes. I use the rebounder every second day. And I found that's the most effective and most tolerated exercise for me personally, and really helps relieve my lymph pain as it gets things moving. On a bad flare-up week, I pull back and do the exercise every 3 to 4 days. And then when I feel better, I work my way back up to every second day.
Well done, Esther. That's a really wise approach. Not many people is able to really do things gradually, because including myself, whenever I would had a good day, I would just go for hours and exercise, and the next week I would suffer. And so, yeah, if you're able to wisely pace yourself and build up, that's excellent. Well done. Thanks for sharing.
She adds that her naturopath worked on her electrolyte intake, and she's found that electrolytes have been key to me recovering after exercise, or even getting through a day when I'm in a flare. I take ocean trace electrolytes and raw coconut water.
Beautiful. Yeah, electrolytes are fabulous for that too, as well as alkalizing. Electrolytes, they often contain alkalizing nutrients, so they're able to deal with that lactic acid buildup as well.
And Esther acknowledges that this is after many years of learning, of pushing herself too much and crashing and burning. I think there's probably a lot of us that could be nodding our heads right now. And Rebecca's got a question. Do you have a back to basics menu plan?
Back to basics. I'm not sure if I understand this question.
Hi there.
Hi.
So I am quite crook. I can't exercise at all, but I'm also fortunate that I'm functional. I can hold down my work from home job. I'm a single parent to very busy boys, and obviously, run around after them after my work day. So I don't have a lot of time, and then obviously after all that, I don't have the energy. But I know that I need to clean up my diet. I just don't really know where to start, and perhaps other people are in the same kind of way. So I'm just wondering if you have like a meal plan, a 7-day meal plan or something like that we could just go in and follow, or do I need to be a patient of yours? I would love to start a diet. Not necessarily diet for how normal people think, but to detox and to try and get a bit of improvement, because I've been at this similar kind of functional level for a while, and I would love to improve that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think it could be very useful for you if you go back to my previous session and re-listen to recording. I did talk about foods for for healing Lyme disease, not specifically, but eliminating those foods that are problematic. So rather than me giving you a specific recipe, which I'm happy to share with you some of my resources of weekly diet, but I think without you really understanding what's beneficial food, which foods could be aggravating or inflammatory, or some foods that could be really healing, it will be much better if you have this understanding in place, and possibly have a listen also to part where I was talking about cleaning home environment. So removing all those toxins from home, those smells, replacing products, because that's also super important for emptying that detoxification bucket.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I have over the years, you know, every now and then looked at it and gained some knowledge. And I know there's inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory foods and whatnot. It's just getting that time and energy. Like at the end of the day, I'm done, you know. So, and I'm not much of a cook. So, you know, even if I'm to be a patient of yours, I'd love to do that, and just, you know, have somebody just go, right, well, eat this on this day, and then next day, you know, follow this plan. You know, wouldn't that be nice? If someone made it for me, that'd be even better.
I've got 3 kids, Rebecca. I'm so relating to this.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Like, you know, you don't have the energy to put back into yourself at the end of the day.
I'm hearing you, and Rebecca and Sharon. I was actually thinking at the end of last year, maybe I should create some handouts for how to make foods, like handouts or some brainstorming ideas how to make foods if you actually by yourself or have dependents under you, and use these days where we have more energy to do like a batch cooking, put it into freezer, cook something simple that allows you actually to do other few things around. So I'm actually thinking that's on my list of things to do, and I will get into this sometimes next month, because I remember these days where I just had no energy and couldn't be bothered. But then I without food, we quickly just go backwards so quickly, because the body needs to
vicious cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are definitely meals that don't require much energy. Like I know I used to buy entire free-range chicken and put it into a pot and cook it for God knows how long, sleep in between or do something in between, and then add some pack of frozen veggies, and I had soup for 3 days. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. I don't have kids, so it's easier because there is no one to fuss.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is getting them to eat, you know, healthy as well. So that's its own battle.
Yeah, and then you have to be really creative with foods for kids. Yeah, but sure. I will have a look at creating something like that.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Do you have any other questions or thoughts tonight? It can be on the topic from tonight or anything that's been burning for you right now.
Hi, it's Esther here. Could I ask?
Certainly.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, for my lymph system, I take calendula and nettle tea every day. But I'm just wondering, if I was to make like a nettle tincture, I make other tinctures as well, but is that as effective as the tea? So I can take a small dose of that even if I'm out and about and I start like getting pains and I don't have my tea with me, but I can have the tincture. Is that as effective, and what would the dose be if it's like a 1-to-1 ratio tincture?
Look, I'm not sure if you would be able to make one-to-one tincture at home settings. It's quite fiddly and tricky process. You need to have dry material and really good separation process. A tincture, it could be purchased through your naturopath, and that's concentrated. But look, the more it's not often better. How nettle, it's a fabulous herb, but it is a high dose herb, and it's best works when it's prepared through decoction. Actually, sorry, through infusion. So you would put quite a lot, 10 grams of nettle in the pot, cook it for boiling water, and let it sit for 3 to even 15 hours, and add a little bit of lemon or some acidic medium, let's say lemon, and then it draws out all the nutrients and really draws out all the good flavonoids and water-soluble constituents. But it is high-dose herb, so 6 cups a day, and I understand not everyone can handle that much nettle, because after a few weeks you just can't stand it. But yeah, look, for lymphatic, it's maybe trying different approaches. Maybe trying like self-massage. There are lots of videos of self-lymphatic massage support, or combining it with red root. It's really amazing herb. It could be available as a tincture, or it is Native American herb. So maybe on iHerb, or poke root under a supervision of your practitioner. That's another thing to explore. But you know, ultimately, when the lymphatic system is congested, it's important to deal what is impacting on this lymphatic system. Yeah, so if you have ongoing infection, then dealing with infection reduces the lymphatic symptoms or burden, or MCAS, often mast cell activation syndrome, often also taxes lymphatic system. So reducing mold or Bartonella particularly, it's important for reducing MCAS symptoms.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I don't have 6 cups a day. I only 1. I don't think I could tolerate 6. Yeah, but thank you very much. That other herb you mentioned, was it red root or something?
Red root, yes, that's Stephen Berner's herb, and it has just so many amazing properties. It is difficult to get in Australia, and it's quite pricey. My preferences will go to nettle, but if you're doing only 1 cup of nettle, then you're not doing nettle, because it is high dose herb. It works well in very high doses, but I understand it's hard to get that much nettle into you.
Okay, yeah, I didn't realize you had to take it in high doses. Yeah, I found it with 1 cup. I put maybe like a tablespoon of the herb in 1 cup of water, but when I first started taking it, I couldn't even do that dose. Like, I was so sensitive. It would just, yeah, very, very sensitive to anything. So I had to work my way up to drink 1 cup. And now I can drink 1 cup. If I put more than, some days when I'm really bad, I will have 2 cups, but yeah, I have to be careful, because it can detox me too much.
Okay, right. It's interesting to hear, and I'm hearing you. It stops the detox and flare-ups reaction than provokes it. But oh boy, I've learned everyone is different, and everything is possible when healing from Lyme disease. All sorts of scenarios.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you very much for your help. I'm going to research that other herb. It sounds interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Look at Steven Bruner's website, you will find a lot about it.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
Esther. And can we help anybody else tonight? It's okay if not. We don't have a set time.
Hello, can
Hello,
you hear me?
Joe. Yeah, hi, Joe.
Oh, hi.
Hey, Jill.
I had to press the mute button. I'm long term. The 3 Bs. I won't say how long, so I don't want to scare other people. So things you were talking about food, I thought I would ask this question. It's sort of a double question. In listening to like lots of talks and reading and stuff, as far as diet is concerned, there's quite a bit about fermented cabbage and apple cider vinegar. Now, these 2 things that my gut doesn't tolerate at all. So the 2 questions is, what's the best alternative for these? So I think the fermented cabbage is as a prebiotic, I'm not sure. So what would be the alternative if it's so good for you as is raved about? And the other thing is this indicative of an acid or alkaline stomach environment?
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for your question. So when you say your stomach is not able to tolerate it, what actually happens?
Well, it's very uncomfortable. It's been a long time since I can't tell you exactly because it's been so long. I've got a very, very sensitive gut. So I don't know. Yeah. Tell me a few things that could be happening and then I'll go yes and no. I can't think.
Yeah, so first thing that comes to my mind, which is quite common for people with Lyme disease, it's histamine intolerance. Now, histamine, those fermented foods, so you could be reacting to not just fermented cabbage, but really any fermented food. And fermented food is high in histamine. Some people, okay.
Yeah.
I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Joe, it sounds like your body is not able, it has basically problem with histamine. Now it can mean few things further. It can mean that there is a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and there are some bacteria in your intestine that already produce large amount of histamine, and your histamine threshold is high. You might also have a mast cell activation syndrome. So depending what your situation is and what's the background. Okay, I've lost my own train of thoughts. But yeah, it just sounds like there is a histamine problem. And when that happens, then it's no point of trying to put fermented foods because they're not beneficial for you. They actually would cause more inflammation and more problem. Instead, it will be good to deal with what is causing that histamine intolerance with underlying cause, and histamine for probiotic reasons. So fermented foods are, we eat them because of probiotic lactobacillus bacterium. That's a beneficial bacteria for us. But instead of doing that, you could take a probiotics, but not all probiotics would suit you. Only probiotics that are lactate free. So those, I'm not too sure if they're available in normal stores. They might be if you have a practitioner, your practitioner might be able to prescribe one. So not all strains are good. Some strains might exacerbate histamine reaction, but lactate free, they should be good.
So can I say, I only use lactose lactose-free milk, but I tend to mix it up and use coconut milk and soy milk. I'm not overly confident about soy milk, but I'm wondering whether that's because there's a lot of hype about there being problems with soy. And also, I've got Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, made with lactose-free milk. And just recently, I bought some kefir, which is quite a thick kefir, which I'm looking at using as a mother and doing it myself. Does that sound like that they're okay? Probably.
So look, again, Joe, and I don't know how your situation, so I'm just guessing here. If you're reacting to fermented foods in general, those all yogurts that you're eating, they are histaminic foods, so they potentially can make you unwell. And there is a number of symptoms connected to histamine. It's not just yucky gut. It is dizziness. You could look up on Google all the histamine related symptoms. It's a number of them.
Yeah.
So you might not be doing yourself a favor. It's hard for me to say, but maybe just watch your reaction to fermented foods. Do they make you feel off? Do they make you feel unwell? Or it's just a cabbage. Some people, they don't do well with FODMAP diets, or yogurt has a different bacteria. No, actually, histamine reaction will include all fermented foods. So just pay attention to how your body reacts to all fermented foods. That will include yogurt and kefirs. And if you notice that you feel not well with this family of groups, then I would stay away until you resolve the reason why your histamine, why you're reacting to histamine.
Would that be one of the 3 Bs causing that? Possibly. Well, something's causing it.
What do you mean by what do you mean by
Borrelia,
3 Bs?
Borrelia, Babesia, and Bartonella.
Oh, okay, right. I haven't heard 3 Bs before. I like it.
I would have made.
Yeah, look, being Lyme disease is the greatest mimicker. We know it can cause everything. So they all can residue in epithelial linings, in the linings of the stomach, and create a further dysbiotic or pathogenic overgrowth, which could promote histamine intolerance. So yeah, in other words, yes, they can. So for you, it's to pay attention again, which foods are not agreeing with you, maybe doing some simple diary to help you identify.
Okay, all right. So, and the other thing was, would that show whether that my stomach is acid or alkaline? Can you tell from that?
Well, look, stomach generally should be acidic. That's the function of the stomach, and we want it to be acidic. So when your stomach is empty, doesn't have much food, it's about 2 to 3 pH degree. And when you put food, this acidic degree, this acidity breaks down food, and then it goes to further parts where it gets alkalized. So I'm not too sure what you're referring to. Maybe you mixing up some terms. I'm feeling.
Oh, I'm thinking because you're saying it sounds like it's like a histamine intolerance, and then I suppose I have the other problem. The other issue is because I have I've had esophageal candiditis. Mm-hmm. And I probably got it at the moment, which is 5 weeks after Lyme, COVID. And my white cell count's always down, which I would say the underlying 3 Bs. So I was wondering if it is GORD, for instance, or GERD, is that dependent on, is that sort of an issue with the stomach being overly acidic or overly alkaline? Because that's never been, I've had gastritis and ulcers of that in the past.
Yeah, Joe, it's a very it's not a really a matter of stomach being acidic or alkaline itself. It could be related to, yes, I understand where you're coming from. It could be if you go to mainstream doctor, they would often tell you your stomach is overly acidic, and here you have acid suppressant, so you decrease your acid and create lots of problems down the stream. But that the reason for esophageal, that difficult word, the difficult reflux condition and GERD, it could be in any part of intestine, really. Well, it's most likely, it could be due to poor motility of intestine, could be because eating wrong foods, or issue could be in small intestine. It's not necessarily stomach. So it's really hard for me to answer this question, but if the cabbage is going to cause difference or exacerbate condition, possibly, and if you feel like any food is making you worse, we're really not able to guess all the situation and why, but sometimes it's really good to switch off the mind and involve intuition. If something is not agreeing with you, no matter how much amazing things you read about it, just leave it. That's my simple advice. Yeah, but I understand you would like to get some probiotics in you, and in your situation, if there is a candidiasis, it is recommended. So I would be doing, rather than fermented foods, high strain probiotics.
Okay, yeah, thanks. No, I mean, I haven't done the fermented foods. It's just that it keeps coming up, you know, and sometimes I just go along and I go along because fatigue is an absolute nightmare, but it's like having another go at it, now I'll try this. And I had 5 days doing the that diet, not paleo, yeah, keto, that's right. Bad move, that didn't it probably did do some good, but it was just too powerful for my system. So yeah, anyway, I shall let you talk to somebody else.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you for and congratulations. Keep trying. There are solutions. It's sometimes could be really tricky to find it, because now we're just so overflooded with information. Like Google, it's a doctor of everything, but doesn't really cure anything.
No, and nor do the doctors either. But anyway, we won't go into that.
What a journey.
Thank you.
Well, thanks,
you.
Joe, and thanks everybody for your questions and input, because that's what makes this successful and makes sort of the world go round when we're talking about this. And Dobrusia, thanks again. So just at the end of our time, and we'll be back in a month, probably during the day. So we need a little bit of flexibility for schedules. So just keep checking either the email or Facebook. So thanks for being here. All our prayers for recovery for everyone. And Dobrusia, thanks again.
Pleasure. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see everyone.
Good night, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.